be subdivided into many small fluid particles, each having its own trajectory and history. Each and every such fluid particle obeys Newton's law of motion. Consequently, we can learn a great deal about the flow as a whole by focusing our attention to begin with on the dynamics of some typical fluid particle. Suppose that a tiny cube of water in a jet were dyed a bright color, so we could follow it easily. While body forces act at a distance, surface forces act by direct contact between the particle and the surrounding medium. And as the name implies, surface forces are exerted directly on the six surfaces or faces of the cube by the surrounding fluid with which it is in actual contact. On each face of the cube, equal and opposite forces are mutually exerted between the fluid inside the cube and the fluid outside. Let us look at one of the faces of our particle. The greater the surface area, the greater the surface force. And so it is convenient to think in terms of the force per unit area. This ratio of force to area is called the stress. For instance, if we push with 5,000 dynes on this face having an area of 50 square centimeters, the average stress, or pressure, is 100 dynes per square centimeter. The distributed nature of the stress is indicated by these arrows all over the surface. Suppose now that we push on the opposite face with 5,000 dynes, then there is no net force to accelerate the particle. And so the amount of pressure acting on any one face is in itself unimportant to the dynamics of the particle. But now, suppose that we push on the second face with a force of 7,000 dynes. Then there is a net pressure force to accelerate the particle. So it is differences in pressure that count. The greater the pressure difference over a given distance, the greater is the net pressure force per unit volume of fluid. This rate of pressure change with distance is called the pressure gradient. Thinking again of our cube as a particle in a stagnant tank, we see that the weight can be supported if the pressure on the lower face is larger than the pressure on the upper face. The right-hand side of this U-tube so does not contribute to the horizontal balance of force. The net pressure force is not balanced by any other force. According to Newton's equation of motion, therefore, it produces a horizontal acceleration.